Good morning, and welcome to your AI Daily Press morning podcast for July 25, 2025. Firstly, in Ukraine, President Volodymyr Zelensky has submitted draft legislation to restore the independence of the country's anti-corruption agency, NABU, and the Anti-Corruption Prosecution Unit, SAPO. This move comes after widespread protests and pressure from the European Union. Meanwhile, the conflict between Ukraine and Russia continues to escalate, with overnight attacks by Russian forces resulting in casualties and damage to civilian infrastructure. Secondly, we're following a developing story in Southeast Asia, where tensions are rising between Thailand and Cambodia. A diplomatic row sparked by a leaked phone call between the two countries' leaders has led to clashes and exchanges of fire along their disputed border. Both countries have deployed additional troops and military equipment to the area, and the international community is watching with growing concern. Lastly, we're also keeping an eye on the situation in Ukraine, where the U.S. Department of State has approved potential military sales worth $330 million, including air defense systems. This move is likely to be seen as a significant boost to Ukraine's military capabilities as it defends itself against Russian aggression. These are just a few of the major stories we're following today. We'll have more in-depth analysis and updates throughout the day. So now for the latest in social and cultural news, here is Barbara Waters.
Thank you, Walter. I'm Barbara, your host for today's briefing. We have several significant stories unfolding globally, highlighting the complex interplay between international relations, economic policies, and diplomatic endeavors. Firstly, in a dramatic escalation of the Gaza crisis, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has announced emergency talks with French and German leaders to address the humanitarian catastrophe unfolding in the Palestinian enclave. The situation on the ground is dire, with reports of over 1,000 deaths from starvation and widespread criticism of Israel's restrictions on aid delivery. In other news, Tokyo Governor Yuriko Koike has expressed her eagerness to attract part of the United Nations functions to the Japanese capital, highlighting the city's unique blend of modern infrastructure, cultural richness, and geopolitical stability. This move is particularly noteworthy as the UN marks its 80th anniversary and embarks on a major organizational overhaul. Meanwhile, the International Monetary Fund has advised Japan to avoid implementing broad tax cuts and cash handouts as a means to stimulate its economy, instead recommending temporary and targeted fiscal stimulus measures to address economic shocks and manage long-term fiscal sustainability. Finally, we're also following developments in the Gaza crisis, where international pressure is mounting on Israel to ease aid restrictions and allow desperately needed assistance to reach those suffering in the enclave. These stories underscore the dynamic nature of global affairs, where diplomacy, economics, and politics intersect in intricate ways. We'll continue to monitor these developments and provide in-depth analysis and updates throughout the day. Thank you for joining us this morning, and we'll be back with more news after this break. Now, for the latest in business and finance, here is Louis Riskweiser.
Thank you, Barbara. I'm your host, Louis. Today, we're summarizing the latest earnings reports from top companies. We've seen a mixed bag of results, with some companies like BNP Paribas and American Airlines Group reporting strong performances, while others like Deutsche Bank and Morgan Stanley face challenges. The key themes emerging from these reports are adaptability, diversified business models, and effective cost control. In our most recent analysis, we looked at Valero Energy Corporation and Cent Microelectronics, NV. Valero's Q2 earnings showed a mixed picture, with revenue beating expectations but EPS missing estimates. Meanwhile, S Microelectronics missed both revenue and EPS estimates due to intense competition and soft demand. As investors, it's essential to consider these factors when making decisions. For those invested in VLO, holding on to shares might be wise, given the company's refining operations and cost-cutting measures. For SNEM investors, a more cautious approach is recommended as the company navigates a rapidly evolving semiconductor market. That's all for now. Stay informed and happy investing. We'll continue to monitor the markets and bring you the latest updates. Until next time, I'm Lewis, your trusted guide through the world of finance. Now for the latest in science and technology, here is Carl Starman.
Thank you, Louis. Firstly, we're celebrating the 60th anniversary of human spaceflight, with NASA marking 6 decades since astronaut Alan Shepard became the first American in space. We're also looking at the latest developments in space exploration, including a new batch of stunning images from the Chandra X-ray Observatory, which is giving us a unique glimpse into the fascinating world of galaxies and star formation. In other news, an interstellar comet known as 3I Atlas is currently hurtling through our solar system, sparking speculation about its origins and potential implications for humanity. While scientists are eager to study this mysterious visitor, some researchers have sparked controversy by suggesting that it could potentially be an alien probe. Finally, we're taking a look at the latest developments in space technology, including NASA's plans to return humans to the moon by 2024, and the ongoing search for extraterrestrial intelligence. From the possibility of encountering alien life to the latest breakthroughs in space exploration, we're covering it all on the AI Daily Press Morning Podcast. That's all for now. Now for the latest in sports, here is Howard Closewell.
Thank you, Carl. Firstly, we have the developing situation with the USC-UCLA rivalry, potentially coming to an end due to conference realignments. This storied matchup has been a staple of West Coast sports for decades, and its demise would be a significant loss for college athletics. In other news, the Detroit Lions are facing a major overhaul on their offensive line after the retirement of center Frank Ragnow and the departure of right guard Kevin Zeitler in free agency. The team is optimistic about finding the right combination of players to fill these gaps, with rookie Tate Ratledge and veteran Graham Glasgow competing for the center position. Lastly, we touch on the injury report from the Lions training camp, where linebacker Alex Anzalone remains sidelined due to a contract dispute, while linebacker Derek Barnes and cornerback Tyrion Arnold are being evaluated for their injury. These stories highlight the ever-changing landscape of professional and college sports. Now for the latest in travel and human interest, here is Charles Currell.
Thank you, Howard. Firstly, we explored the potential implications of Elon Musk's Neuralink project on human cognition and intelligence. While the technology holds promise for treating neurological disorders, it also raises important questions about the ethics of brain-machine interfaces and the potential risks to human identity. Next, we delved into the world of artificial intelligence and its applications in various industries. From healthcare to finance, AI is transforming the way we live and work. However, as we discussed, it's essential to address the challenges associated with AI development, such as bias, transparency, and accountability. Lastly, we took a stroll through the enchanting Small Combe Garden Cemetery in Widcombe, England, where history and nature blend together in perfect harmony. This hidden gem is a testament to the importance of preserving our cultural heritage and appreciating the beauty that surrounds us. These stories remind us that, as we navigate the complexities of modern life, it's essential to stay curious, informed, and grounded in our values. As I always say, the dignity of ordinary work, the beauty of everyday life, and the importance of tradition are what make our stories worth telling. That's all for today's summary. Tune in next time for more thought-provoking discussions and explorations of the world around us. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and I look forward to sharing more stories with you in the future. Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and always remember to appreciate the beauty in the everyday. Now for the latest in fashion and entertainment, here's Joan Streams.
Thank you, Charles. First up, we're talking about the end of an era with the cancellation of news after decades on the air. But don't worry, the E! Network has new shows in the works, including Camorra, back in the Fab Lane and E!'s Dirty Rotten Scandals. Next, we're celebrating the renewal of the beloved soap opera, Days of Our Lives, for 2 more seasons on Peacock. This show has been a staple of popular culture for 63 seasons, and its move to streaming has clearly paid off. And finally, we're shining the spotlight on Bollywood, where 2 Indian movies, Raid and Epi Chai Sakoi, have made it to the top of Netflix's global list for non-English films. This is a huge deal, folks, as it shows that Indian films are finally getting the recognition they deserve on global platforms like Netflix. That's all for today's podcast. Thanks for tuning in, and don't forget to check out our exclusive interviews and behind-the-scenes content coming up soon. Stay fabulous, everyone! Now for the latest in nature and environment, here is David Attenacher.
Thank you, Joan. Firstly, we have a report on the invasive use of dicamba, a widely used weed killer, on genetically engineered soybeans and cotton. The Environmental Protection Agency has announced plans to reapprove its use, despite concerns about its potential impact on human health and the environment. This decision has sparked intense debate among stakeholders, with some arguing that it prioritizes corporate interests over environmental protection. In other news, a breakthrough in cell biology has shed new light on the structure and duplication of centrioles, tiny organelles found within cells. Researchers have identified a previously underexplored region called the AC linker, which plays a crucial role in maintaining cellular integrity. This discovery has significant implications for our understanding of diseases such as cancer and neurodegenerative disorders. Lastly, we're looking at the impact of invasive species on ecosystems. A recent report highlights the devastating effects of non-native plants and animals on local wildlife and environments. For example, the spread of invasive species in certain regions has led to the decline of native species and altered the delicate balance of ecosystems. These stories remind us of the importance of responsible stewardship of our environment and the need for ongoing research into the complex relationships between human activity, science, and policy. We'll continue to follow these developments and bring you updates as more information becomes available. That's all for today. Thank you for tuning in to the AI Daily Press Morning Podcast. We'll be back with more news and analysis after this break. And that completes our morning podcast for today. Thank you for listening. Until this evening, I'm David Attenacher for AI Daily Press, the world's most unbiased news source.